welcome to CES 2014. This is Gavin along with my good friend
Kevin Beck.
Kevin Beck, man. It's good to be here. We're in Las Vegas for the world's largest electronics conference.
Yeah.
And Lenovo, we did not come empty-handed. We just revealed, unveiled, whatever the word is, the all-new ThinkPad X1 Carbon, right, Kev?
Yep.
What do you got?
The same as the previous name, but new X1 Carbon.
You cannot say same as it ever was for this thing. It's all new.
No, totally brand new.
And there's a lot to talk about, right?
Right. So let's start with what is the same. Right. Same ThinkPad.
What was it, right?
Right. What ThinkPad construction, testing, mil specs, carbon fiber, race cars, airplanes.
This thing is made out of the same stuff that airplanes and race cars are made out of. What more can you say?
Right, but I think one of the, from a mechanical engineering perspective, we got this down with a touchscreen to be as thin as the previous generation without a touchscreen.
So you've got what has to be, so a touchscreen always inherently is heaver, right?
Right,
but we managed to whittle it down with our little whittling sticks.
Right, so we're at like less than 18 millimeters, right at about between 2.8, 2.9 pounds. So this thing is awesome.
And again, this is a laptop that's designed to be, the ultimate, the professional's best friend. I believe you'll see the tagline "professional redefined." Right. And Kevin, it's a beauty.
Yeah. The thin and light beauty shot, right?
Exactly. The first thing I noticed when you open it up is the display. Talk to me a little bit about the display. I know it's actually quite a bit of an upgrade from the previous version, right?
Yep, so we, on the high end here with the touchscreen, WQHD 2560 by 1440 screen.
WQHD?
WQHD, sounds like a radio station.
I used to listen to that station when I was a kid, actually.
I need to look that up and see if that is an actual radio station.
We could write them a letter. Yeah. So that's a super, I've seen the term ColorBurst Display.
Right, so that's really just like the preponderance of all the goodness, right? It's bright, 300 nits, WQHD, bezel-less, thin touchscreen, contrast ratio. So just like everything that went in together, we kind of wanted to just give that a name for the preponderance of goodness in the screen, hence ColorBurst.
I think preponderance of goodness would be a nice tagline for this as well.
It's a band name.
Right, yeah. It's a great, sounds like a punk band. And another upgrade from the previous version was the battery life. I know this thing just was released to the world, and by the way, this is actually on sale now.
On sale.
But just released to the world this week, and a lot of the conversation has been about the battery life. I've seen some people claim that it's 70% improvement. I know we're not making that claim, but what is the story on the battery life?
Okay, so the previous version with the old generation processor, we rated that at about 5 hours. Lab testing, such and such. But this is 9 hours, right? So this is your latest Intel up to Core i7 4th generation Haswell processor. Much better battery life.
Okay.
Right?
I have to say, I have the previous version, and I have not had any problems with the battery life. So I was interested that people were focusing on that as a theoretical weakness of the previous version. So, I wouldn't turn down 9 hours either.
No. But they both still have the RapidCharge, right? Right. So you're going to get to like 80% of your battery life in significantly less than an hour.
Yep. Right? And I've literally had those moments where you're at the airport and you have a 30-minute layover, and boom, you're charged for your next flight.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
So just to kind of get the standard unboxing stuff out of the way.
I know you and your ports.
Yeah, we did add a couple of things this year. We've now got our new OneLink Pro port, or our OneLink docking port, which will actually accept the OneLink Pro or the older OneLink dock, right? So it's power and docking in one cable, right? Plug it in, you've got a dock, in the case of the OneLink Pro, up to 6 USB ports, display port, DVI, Ethernet, and audio.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, look elsewhere on our YouTube channel for a video on OneLink, and that's something, I think it's one of those kind of unsung gadgets that we have that people seem to really appreciate. What else you got?
We got HDMI mini display port, so HDMI is a net add for this year. Ethernet and your headphone jack, or sorry, not Ethernet, USB headphone jack.
Correct.
And then on the other side here, we've got USB, and we have a proprietary dongle for Ethernet, but the good news is it is native Ethernet functionality.
Okay, what does that mean for non-geeks?
So for probably about 90% of end users, it's not ever going to be something they're going to care that much about.
Okay.
But for corporate IT administrators who in many cases like to boot these things off of a network in order to image them.
Okay.
Right?
So they're rolling out a huge fleet of PCs.
Right.
Okay.
You're not having to deal with like emulation through USB and drivers. It is native Ethernet through a dongle.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, so next thing I want to talk about is one of the big changes, and what I think is one of the absolute coolest things about the new X1 Carbon is our adaptive keyboard row.
And this is quite remarkable. You and me got to look at this a month ago or so, and I have to say it blew my mind. So how does it work, Kev? It's basically you can cycle through a number of choices on your function bar, right?
Correct. So to make a very long story short, one of the key things that came out of like last year's big research with all of our customers for this generation of ThinkPads was that people were pretty interested in having expanded functionality, right? Things like new keys and direct access to things like voice over IP for doing video conferencing, for doing web conferencing. Things like this also has gesture control. It also has voice control. So we wanted to put in direct keys to be able to access that. This doesn't really save you a lot of time. You've got to dig down through 5 menus to activate the thing to tell it to open something with your voice, right?
Sure. Well, and like you say, you mentioned voice control and gesture control. It essentially gives people options as to how they want to interact with their PC and what they want to they want to sort of front load.
Right. But long story short, on the old traditional type keyboard where you had to press, function whatever to get to that, or alt this, whatever to get to that, we had over 30 different functions that were mapped as alternates on 20 different keys. And we laid out the sort of wish list for everything that we wanted in this new one. It was going to be 46 different functions.
Wow.
Right? But then the other big thing that came out of all these end user studies and talking to our customers is that people wanted simplicity. Right, so how do you balance those two?
Everybody wants everything, and they want it to look really, really simple.
They want it right now.
Sure.
So here's what we did.
That's the history of design in one sentence, what you just said.
So we have an adaptive keyboard row. So you've got 4 different sets of keys that are adaptive and contextual. And what I mean by that is they can change, the adaptive part, and contextual, they will come up in certain situations when you need them.
Okay.
Right, so let's just go through the basic functionality. This is the home row, right? So you got volume up, volume down, screen brightness, search, your Windows keys, right? Get you to your apps, show all your current apps that are currently running, right? Take us back here, cut, direct access to any, whatever you designate as your cloud service, voice control and gesture control.
Nice.
I tap that again, I get to my web interface, back key, refresh, open a new tab. I tap that again, oops, if I can hit it with my finger. I get to my voice over IP row.
Okay, so again, you're video conferencing and you want all those controls handy. You don't want to have to be clicking through menus.
Right, mic up and down, camera off and on. You can change the beam forming characteristics of the microphone.
Beam forming characteristics?
Beam, not bean, beam.
I thought you meant beam, I thought you were talking about bourbon, Kevin. Honestly.
Whether you're one person or multiple people.
Sure.
And then most importantly, for traditional users such as myself, we have the full traditional, I'm not hitting something right here, we have the full traditional function row.
Okay,
right?
And this raises, again, this thing's been out for a couple days, and this raises a really crucial point, right? So there's a misnomer that Lenovo has gotten rid of the function bar, right?
No.
We've not gotten rid of the function keys,
F1
right?
through F12. Right.
So if I wanted to just leave my function keys there 24/7, I could do that, right?
There's a very simple software setting. You can go in and pick which of the 4, one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, or 4 of them, that you want to be in the rotation, and then you can pick which one you want to be the default.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to be an absolute traditionalist, you pick your function keys to be your default, and they're available all the time.
Okay.
Right? By default,
understood.
the classic home row with volume up, volume down, that's the default one, right? But
very cool. So
move this down a little
so
bit,
again, more options for more ways that people are computing. The same way we talked about voice and gesture. And I got to be honest, gesture control to me is always a little bit. It's easy to make fun of in some ways. It's like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Well, it's one of those things that's kind of in its infancy, right?
Right.
It's cool.
It's
or
fun.
at least interesting to sit there. If I've got this thing hooked up to my widescreen TV, and I'm showing people pictures off of it at home, I can lounge back on the couch and just kind of wave at it. And my pictures will go through. Same with like turning pages in an ebook, that kind of thing. So, or presentation.
But it's giving people options. So again, the adaptive keyboard, same deal. If your life is about VoIP and you're on video conferences 24/7, you're going to sit on that thing all the time. If you want to be traditional and do the function keys, you've got them. But I get it. I think I get it. So when I first saw it, I had no idea what to make of the adaptive keyboard. I got to be honest.
Yeah, if you kind of bring it down to like a sentence, it's to add more options for doing things without getting into what psychologists and designers call the paradox of choice, where you give people so many choices that they are like overwhelmed by them, and it actually ends up decreasing productivity because they have too many choices to choose from. So that's really what we're trying to do here: is add more choice without making it any confusingly complex.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
all right, Kev.
I think that's it.
I think that covers it, man. That's the brand new, all new, fresh out of the box ThinkPad X1 Carbon. Thanks for being with us.
Kevin and Gav from CES 2014. Take care.
Bye.